So I suppose we should move on and have a little bit of fun previewing the first 4 games on the Husker schedule. And I know, Dustin, you have not been necessarily connected to Big Ten football in an official capacity for a while, which is fine. We're just going to have a little fun. We're going to take a look back at what Northwestern accomplished last year as a team. And anybody has a stat that I don't have written down here and you want to toss it in, just let me know. But the key stats for me was on offense for Northwestern in 2021. They averaged a whopping 16.6 points per game. They rushed for 144 yards per game, passed for 177 for a total of 321 yards per game. Conversely, on defense, minus Mr. Mike Hankwitz as defensive coordinator, which to me was the magic sauce for that Fitzgerald defense for so many years. 29 points per game they gave up last year, including 56 to us. Rush yards was 213 per game, pass yards 216 per game, so they're equally crappy at rush and pass defense, and 429 yards per game is what they gave up. Any thoughts on those? Do you guys see any room for improvement?
Well, I think if I'm a Northwestern fan, I hope to God that I can find room for improvement because they were abysmal in all aspects of the game last year. And I think you hit the nail on the head. Losing Mike Hankwitz, I think, was a bigger deal than people gave credit. And because even when Northwestern's defense was bad, I think you go back to that 2019 season, their offense was atrocious. But defensively, you look at the numbers and you look how they hung into some of those games, their defense was solid. Last year, they could not stop the run. I mean, you just go back to that week 1 game against Michigan State. And obviously Kenneth Walker's a great talent, but that kind of stuff just doesn't happen in Northwestern. And it happened regularly last season.
No, it seemed like their run fits were all out of whack the whole year. And that seemed to be the thing they excelled at. That 2019 defense Northwestern had kind of reminded me just a little bit of that 2009 defense that Nebraska had, mostly because we had a pretty sucky offense that year too. But that defense was pretty incredible. As far as NU's, how they fared last year against Northwestern, our offense obviously scored 56 points. We rushed the ball for 441 yards, which was more than double what they were giving up per game, and passed for 230, which was right about the average of what they were giving up, and for a total of 661. They managed a total of 341 yards, 7 points scored, 85 by the run, and 256 yards by the pass. I am not sure if I see a similar outcome in Dublin. First of all, Scott, what do you think? Do you think 56 is doable, or do you think we're looking more in that 28 to 37 point range, which is kind of where I land?
Yeah, I think that just the way that I think last year was an anomaly with, I mean, we just went out there and killed them, which is the first time that that's ever happened in our, I guess, rivalry, we could call it.
Hydrox and you.
Yeah. And so I think that it'll probably even out a lot more for this game. I wouldn't be surprised if we score over 30 points. But I doubt we get over the 40. I doubt we get over 40 points against them, because, I mean, they're just bound. I know that there was some, I think it was an Eyes on Big podcast that I was listening to where they had somebody or read something about Northwestern fans or something along the lines of Northwestern fans hate hearing that there is like an on season and an off season. They have a good season and a bad season, good season, bad season. But I mean, that's just kind of how it is. And so I just think, even as abysmal as they were last year, I think that they're bound to take a step forward, especially considering when you look at, it's the first game of the season for both Northwestern and Nebraska. And if there's one thing that you can count on Northwestern doing, is at least being smart. And Nebraska has yet to prove that we make high IQ football from the start of the season, especially since Frost got here. So if there's anything that goes in Northwestern's favor, when it's just points scored, I just don't think that they're going to make as many mistakes as we potentially will. So that's a long-winded answer of saying, yeah, you know, like I don't think we're going to score that much, as much.
Do you have this as a win for Nebraska?
Oh, of course. Absolutely. But I am very worried. It's like I've got it as a win, but it's more in the territory of coin flip, and I hate saying that.
Yep.
I think it's a coin flip game. I don't believe in Vegas. I mean, we proved Vegas last year that you know, you can't trust us to win a winnable game.
Yeah, this is very true.
So, I mean, obviously we've got new hires, we've got new guys, we got transfers, we got all these things that you can look at and be like, yeah, we should win that one. But until I see it, you know, let's just, I'm going to keep it close to my side, I guess. I think we win.
Where do you land on it, Dustin? What do you think happens this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with what Scott said. I think that you should look at the talent and you should look at the changes that Nebraska made and feel comfortable saying that this is a win, considering how last year played out for both of those two teams. And I know that they ended the year with the same record, but Nebraska was a lot closer than Northwestern was. I think we can all agree with that. The one outlier is just kind of that Fitzy factor, right? You don't expect Northwestern to be abysmal 2 years back to back. But when I look at the roster, right, it's like, who's gonna run the ball? Who's going to throw the ball? Who's going to catch the ball? Who's going to block for the guys running and catching the ball, right? Like, it comes down to that kind of simplicity. And I think the other thing that benefits Nebraska in this is the fact that Northwestern didn't make any major changes to its staff. And I think that Nebraska has, like, they don't have anything on tape, right? With Mark Whipple running the offense, with Casey Thompson coming in from Texas, with so many new players coming in on that. I just think that there's going to be a lot of question marks that Northwestern is just not going to have the answer for. So I think I shouldn't say trust after last year. I think Nebraska will win the game, but there's always that Fitzy factor. And then we'll get into more of this as we go down the 4 game. I think it's really important, kind of the message that Scott Frost sends after this Northwestern game, if it doesn't turn out Nebraska's way, because as we saw last year, it can go downhill in a hurry.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got this penciled in as a win with a question mark behind it, simply because holy cow, they have to. I mean, we said this last year. All the podcasts said it last year. This is a must win. Win week 0. If you don't win week 0, it could be a long season. And holy cow, talk about being correct. I've got this as a win as well, mostly because, let's face it, Mike Hankwitz didn't come out of retirement. And I truly think that was that magic sauce for Fitzy. And they're going to be learning to figure out what to do with this offense that they're not going to know what we're bringing. And hell, I'm not going to know what we're bringing either.
Right, exactly.
So I got it as a win because we should, and we'll see what happens. What do you guys think the final will be? I'm kind of in that 35-21 range.
I'm thinking, you know what I'd really like to see? I would like to see 34 scored by Nebraska, meaning that we actually made 2 field goal attempts.
Couple field goals, yeah.
That would be really awesome. So I'm thinking something like 34-24.
Okay.
You know, that I think that somehow Northwestern will find a way to capitalize on our defensive mistakes, because our defense is going to, you know, they've got some gaps they've got to fill in, and some roles that need to be filled in by some guys, especially on our defensive line and maybe in our secondary. And I'm just really banking on Northwestern playing smart football, high IQ football, and being able to capitalize on mistakes. So that's why I've got, like a 34-24.
Dustin?
I think I would go somewhere in the neighborhood of, because I don't think Northwestern's going to score that many points. I just don't trust their offense that much. I'm going to say much lower scoring on both sides. I'm going to say somewhere maybe 24-10 in favor of Nebraska. I do think that Fitz knows enough defensively, even though Mike Hankwitz is a big loss. I think he knows enough defensively to have a much better defense this season. I think that even though Nebraska's got the upper hand in terms of talent on the offensive side, it's still game one. They're going to be, they're still going to be getting accustomed to everybody. I think there's going to be some week one, some of those week one butterflies that you got to work out. And you're obviously playing in a foreign land, so that's going to be tough. I think it's just going to be a low scoring game, but I think Nebraska wins that comfortably, 24-10, something like that.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
I think that's a fair. You've got us beat. Well, what 24-10? I got us winning by 14 as well. So, hey,